Well, hello there, and welcome to another edition of Warbird Wednesday. My name is Fred Bell. I am the Vice Chairman of the Palm Springs Air Museum. And today, with my assistant, Greg, we are going to continue down Advanced Tactical Fighter Lane. We did the YF-22, the F-22. We are going to now talk about, we got a comment about do the YF-23. And I said, well, why not? Let's do the YF-23. So today we're going to talk about the Northrop, McDonnell Douglas, the YF-23. But first, Greg has coiffed me. This is ahead of Memorial Day, which is we do our flower drop, which is a big event for us. And he has coiffed me in a very patriotic hat. My peccant assistant, this is made for a 14-year-old, so obviously it doesn't fit my large noggin, but it's kind of something Frank would wear, kind of channeling, one of the good old boys from the 60s. I'm going to toss that off camera. Another good catch from the Kenny. Now, this particular airplane, if you look at where we've come from the Wright brothers and aircraft design up to this, these are like spaceships compared to what they were flying. And you have to wonder what would like an Orville Wright or something like that think when they saw one of these airplanes. I'll throw up a plan view of this airplane. Now, these were similar in that they were trying to get stealth out of them, and they wanted super cruise, so they wanted that Mach 2.2 range, right? 1,450 miles an hour top speed on this airplane. But that's where the design teams went away. Of course, we're talking about the Advanced Tactical Fighter. This is what they were working on. So at the end of the day, we were going to darken the skies with these airplanes, right? I mean, these were going to be F-15 type numbers, big numbers, 1,500, 2,000 airplanes. What ended up happening was the cost on these was so high that eventually the F-22s we talked about in last week's episode, the final version was so expensive that it just didn't make any sense. And we had the services rethinking this, and then with the end of the Cold War, start thinking about the F-35. Remember, I talked last week about the unblinking eye and data fusion. So with data fusion and with knowing what was going on and a cost situation, these aircraft really fell victim to the F-35 and the next generation after that, because of technology was moving so fast and the needs were changing because of the fall of the Soviet Union. Remember, the ATF program came up at a time when we were up against the Sukhoi, the Su-27 and the MiG-29. I've talked about those are familiar subjects right now in the Ukraine war. We're not going to go down that path any further. But when the Soviet Union fell, all that went away, which is interesting now with the rise of China. And China, we're back to air dominance airplanes again. And that, I think, is going to be, for the foreseeable future, what kind of guides American weapons procurement. Now, this aircraft, you could see, has a much more trapezoidal wing, which is interesting in the design. The designers on this airplane moved the cockpit much further forward, big control slabs again, and the use of flaps on the wing and the ability to contour and change the wing. This aircraft used much more of the area rule. We've talked about the area rule. I'm not going to go. Greg can throw up maybe a graphic, but it looks to me that they used a lot more of the area rule on this airplane. And the other thing is compared to the YF-22, the exhausts, which came out, no thrust vectoring technology on this airplane. So it had a different type of exhaust. Now, it was stealthier in this design, believe it or not, and faster than the YF-22. What it wasn't, because of the thrust vectoring and a little bit different changes on the control surfaces, is it wasn't as maneuverable. And that was one of the things that spelled doom for that airplane, is it just didn't have the same maneuverability that the YF-22 had. Now, it did have weapons bays underneath.
Both aircraft had similar internal weapons bays, but because of its extra length, the 23 could carry AIM-120 advanced medium-range air-to-air missiles in tandem with AIM-9 Sidewinders. The 22 will carry Sidewinders in extra compartments along the fuselage instead.
Although with this particular design, they never got to, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I could never find any research that they actually went to weapons deployment on this. Now, interesting thing, I'm going to tell you a Fred fun fact. This aircraft was looked at for a while, both aircraft, but this one more so, was looked at by the Navy as a replacement for the F-14, if you can think about that. Now, look at that and tell me how in the world you're going to put that on a carrier with these big control surfaces, and where do you fold the wings and everything. That went away pretty quick in that they looked at it and said, no, it's not going to make any sense. So today I want to talk about my salute. And my salute today is to the Northrop. If you were watching this and you were part of the Northrop or the McDonnell Douglas team, which is interesting, you know, MD's gone with all these mergers, all these companies are gone. But if you were part of the team that worked on this, you moved the ball. You were doing the outside of the envelope. I know that's cold comfort in this case because the airplane did not get selected. But if you were part of the design team on this, today you're going to be part of my salute. And that is with Eli's strawberry pop. Ooh, I like strawberry. So let's see. Brewed for the Shipyard Brewing Company. It almost sounds like a beer brewery. Portland. Ingredients. They got the cane sugar memo. There's cane sugar in there. Caffeine and gluten-free. So this is healthy. Really? 160 calories. Did you see the mischievous look there, Greg? So to the Northrop and the MD team, the McDonnell Douglas team, even though you didn't get selected, I want to salute you because you did move the ball. And these airplanes did move everything forward. Some of the work got incorporated into the F-35 in general concepts. So this was not in vain. This one's been on the shelf a little while. I can tell you that right out of the gate. And you know the reason, it's a little flat. But it's still strawberry. Obligatory second sip. I bet you if you had, this is actually pretty good, Greg. You're slipping, although I can tell you, you pawned, like, this has got to be 400 years old off on me, but I'm looking for a date here. Sell by 2006 or something. If it were fresh, you ever had a Nesbitt's? Like the orange or the strawberry at home, if you know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna have another one of those, although it's still flat, it was still tasty. I think if that one were fresh, that's a winner. I'm gonna give you, you know, like about a 60% out of a possible 100 there, you know. What I'm really worried about is I've taken 3 sips of that and it is flat, so what's living in that bottle that I just drank? So we'll figure it out. So the aircraft was not selected ultimately in the fly-off, and it kind of worked its way into history, but that's not the end, Greg. Now, they were so impressed with this that in 2004, Northrop Grumman took the YF-23 and was going to bring it back as an intermediate bomber using this technology. That lasted until about 2006, and then they went, no, and now we're moving on B-21 and all the other stuff that's happening. So they decided not to do that. So you can kind of see where that's going. And then Japan, now this is very interesting. There are some talks about Japan in 2018 about using this as one of their fighters, that they may actually pick up a design that is similar to this. So this design, and you can look at, we talked about the F-22 in a deployed state, how lethal that airplane is. I guess you might be able to argue that even though this design is fairly old, if you spiffed it up and put modern avionics in it, it might actually be able to continue to be deployed maybe as an export fighter. So that is I think that's kind of interesting. So you never know. And they have a big investment in this. So I could see that might actually happen in some way, shape, or form. Now, the aircraft, it had a couple of interesting nicknames. It was called the Black Widow II and the Gray Ghost were the two aircraft. The aircraft, the prototype aircraft, the first one actually sported a Black Widow marking on the belly, and then the management at Northrop got a little nervous and made them take that off. So they didn't want to get too tooty with the airplane. But those were the names of the aircraft. The 800 model, which is the tail number 800, which is this particular model here, ended up at the Air Force Museum in Dayton. And the 801, which is the other aircraft, ended up at the Western Museum of Flight, where they sit to this day. You never know. It'd be fun to get a hold of one of these, wouldn't it? A prototype and display it. I think that would be really cool. But that's where they are. You never know. As I said, this aircraft might be revived as an export fighter in some fashion by Northrop. They're certainly still out there. Now, what's coming out this weekend? Top Gun, Greg. Do you feel the need for speed, Greg? We obviously, and the reviews have been really good. So we'll have to see the movie. I'm going to go see it. Obviously, we don't do movie reviews here, so Greg's like, oh, no movie review. But if you want to be your own Top Gun, click on the link, and Jason in our gift shop will gladly get one of these out. I have one of these. I got one, Greg, my Top Gun shirt, the one that I would normally, when I was around when Top Gun it wouldn't be good. It would not be good if I wear that, so I had to get a little bit larger size, but I do have one of these. Very, very cool. By the way, one of our own, Dragon, little known Fred fun fact, actually flew some of the F-18 Hornets, the air work in that. So a shout out to Dragon. Dragon, you know who you are. You're in one of our videos. Go find her. But she actually did some of the air work, so she's a movie star. Dragon is a movie star. So do that. Now, we're in F-117 because we're kind of wrapping all this up. We cannot do what we do with the restoration on the airplane, and the stealth, I'm looking at it here, is just about finished from a sheet metal standpoint, and we'll go into paint probably in September, October, and hopefully be unveiled for Veterans Day. So we can't do that kind of work without your donation. So click on that donation link. We can certainly use it. If you came across us on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. We've got some exciting news coming about the channel, Greg, which is we're continuing to grow, which is a lot of fun. And give us a subscription and a like. If you came across us on Facebook, give us a like. We can always use that. If you know somebody that is interested in Warbirds and doesn't mind what I call long form videos, we don't do the 3-minute video with me dancing around. Greg just refuses to do that. You forward us to your friends and your airplane aficionados. We'd love to grow the audience. My name is Fred Bell. I am the Vice Chairman of the Palm Springs Air Museum. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.